that's what we're going to do, is talk about Stan, and then we're going to talk about the scholarship a little bit here at lunch. And so I thought I would just start with what Stan has meant to me and what Stan's career has been all about. And then these gentlemen next to me are going to share some of their comments about Stan as well. Stan couldn't be with us right now. His wife fell over the weekend and hurt her hand. She's doing fine, but he felt like he needed to go home and be with her, so we're sorry he couldn't join us. But let me just talk about Stan a bit. Stan is with Raffion and Pignatelli as a consultant with them. But Stan has had really 3 careers, for those of you who don't know him. Stan was a sergeant major in the Army, which is the highest non-commissioned soldier rank in the Army. When I met Stan, he was an entry-level, we call it a baby auditor, with the New Hampshire Department of Revenue, and I was pretty much a baby lawyer with the Coca-Cola Company in Atlanta, Georgia, and they were auditing us for worldwide combination reporting, which we despise and they love. And so Stan and I got to be good friends over that, and within just a few years, Stan became Commissioner of Revenue, which was probably the fastest, most meteoric rise to Commissioner from staff in any Department of Revenue. A position which he held for 14 years. I had the opportunity to meet with Stan a number of times, argued about the very audit that he did on the Coca-Cola Company, and now we're just had his commissioner. And one of the funnier things that he would do is he would make a point of taking us out to lunch, and always take us to a restaurant that only served Pepsi products. And he would order it in a glass that would say Pepsi on the glass, and have them bring it in a bottle so he could set it on the table as we continue our conversation. But from there, then Stan joined Raffion and Pignatelli. But I also had the pleasure of working with Stan in my role as being the president of the Council on Corporate Taxation for 5 years. And it was Stan's leadership there with Harley Duncan, who's standing here with me, that led us into doing a number of projects. If it had not been for those 2 gentlemen and their ability to push the various state organizations and us pulling taxpayers in the same room, we wouldn't have been able to put together a number of things that we did. And there were a lot of great things that came out of that. And with that, I'm going to hand the microphone to Doug and let him talk about some of those.
Thank you, William. It is a distinct pleasure to be here to talk about Stan Arnold. Stan and I have known each other for at least 15 years, back when I was at COST with William. And COST has a relationship with State Chambers of Commerce. And one of the recent ways I got to know Stan was through John Crozier, who is a former head of the New Hampshire Chamber of Commerce, New Hampshire Business and Industry Association. And I played golf with John, and he would tell me about how he, the leader of the business chamber, would play golf on a regular basis with the head of the Department of Revenue. And I was like, are you sure you should be doing that? And everybody said we should be doing it. The 2 of them became fast friends and continued to play golf up until John passed away a few years ago. But John invited me to his retirement party up in New Hampshire, in Concord, in one of the big Capitol buildings. And it was a big deal. There were, New Hampshire has, how many legislative studies? Thousands of legislators. 400 or so. They were all there to honor John Crozier, and I knew Stan was coming too. At that point, Stan was head of the transition team for incoming Governor Lynch. And I got there a little early, and I didn't know anybody. I was kind of walking around looking at the art in this building. I could tell people were looking at me like, who is this guy? What is he doing here? Right? I had just flown up from New Hampshire. And we're all sort of waiting for the big appearance of the governor. The door opens up, and there's sort of a semicircle of people. And Stan walks in with Governor Lynch. And he looks around, and he sees me, and he brings the governor over to me. It's the kind of person that he was. He brought the governor over, and everybody else was like, wow, who is that guy? Stan is truly one of those people that has done a terrific job of bridging both sides, taxpayer, tax administrator, and he's a true friend. I'm very glad to be able to honor him today. Ron?
Thanks, Doug. I got to know Stan going back now 25 years ago or so when I started at the Federation of Tax Administrators when Stan was an auditor with New Hampshire Department of Revenue Administration, and he served as our president in the 1990s while I was there. And I think when you think about Stan, there's sort of 3 things that you think about. The first is really friends and family. And if you are a friend of Stan's, that's not a spectator sport. That is almost a full-time job, because he's regularly contacting you. You feel obligated to contact him, and you want to contact him because he's just an interesting and enjoyable guy. You want to know where he's been, because over 25 years in the Army, he accumulated a lot of people that he knows. And so you would usually be coming back on some trip to Enid, Oklahoma, to see some old Army buddy, as he would, or Junction City, Kansas, or Thibodaux, Louisiana. And while we met in the business sector, we became very good friends and made plenty of arrangements so that we could get together outside of work. And I guess probably the biggest emblem is that Stan was the trustee for our kids in the event of, oh my God, something happens, because we didn't trust any of our families. So I think that says something. The second is that you think about tax, and as William and Doug has said, that when Stan was our president, it was probably one of our most fun years. We really accomplished a lot working with the business community, and it was always about three things, I think. One is learning from one another. The second is being cooperative with the business community so we could agree on things that we could agree on and move things forward. And then the third was leave it in a better place. And I think we did that with Stan. The only thing you had to remember about Stan as your president is you had to sit on his left side, because it was 25 years in the artillery and his right ear didn't hear so well. And then the third thing you think about Stan is golf, right? Stan and I played golf. I'm probably the reason he started drinking beer when he played golf. I'm the reason his game isn't as good as it used to be. We probably played golf in about 25 different states over time. But they always say you can tell a lot by how a person plays golf and how he keeps score. And with Stan, he counted everything. There were no mulligans. He's just a straight-up guy. He's going to count them all. He's a good friend, and I think this scholarship is just an outstanding way to honor him.
I would concur. I met Stan a long time ago through the FTA, and I will say that Stan came in as president of the FTA a couple of years after I had served, and he certainly he righted the ship. Of the many things that have been said about Stan, it comes back around to me to a simple qualification. It's one of the classiest people I ever met. And it's easy enough to say that simply because any of you who ever knew and knows Stan Arnold know that he's a stand-up guy. His word is his bond. And he's dealt with all of us in many different kinds of circumstances, and there was never any question about it. And the result is that when Stan was thinking about changing the structure of this organization and going it on their own, he made some calls around the country, and those of us who knew Stan, as Harley pointed out, we never even occurred to us that we would say no or that we would make an excuse. If Stan wanted us or needed us for whatever purpose, we were going to be there. All three of these guys have come and told me that I should be brief in my comments, and then they went a long time. So as a result of that, the stories that I have to tell you about Stan Arnold's secret life, I will not be able to share with you at lunch. And they're lengthy. But to stand here today for a purpose that names an award, names a scholarship for Stan Arnold is an honor to me. I'm proud to be here. Those of you in this room who, for any reason, don't know Stan, let me encourage you. Get to know him. He's not to be missed as a person, as a human being. And as Harley pointed out, I had the opportunity to play golf a number of times around the country, and just to demonstrate what a class guy Stan Arnold is. He never once told me how lousy I am.
So we have one final speaker, and we have saved the best for last, nothing personal, gentlemen, but to give you a sense of Stan's influence on folks in New Hampshire, we have a special note from Senator Jeannie Shaheen.
property tax is the primary source of funding for public schools, and do it on a deadline imposed by the state Supreme Court. Stan was a straight shooter who gave me sound advice and who had the ability to explain complicated tax issues in a way that non-tax people could understand. Stan, we could really use you in Washington to help us figure out our tax issues in Congress. But seriously, Stan was a great teammate, and if you ever have to go to battle, there is no better person to have in the foxhole with you than Stan Arnold. Thank you, Stan, for everything that you've done for me and for the people of New Hampshire.
Okay, so just a few closing comments. This forum exists today because of Stan. He had a vision for bringing to the New England area an event much like NYU to New York and Hartman in Tennessee, and he wanted to bring something special to the New England area, and that's why we're all here today, because of him. And so this scholarship is something about which we were all very excited. The details will actually be formally published on our website after the new year. We're still working through a few details, but it really is to celebrate Stan's commitment to education and development, where we want to be able to foster the continued growth and development of associates who are pursuing an education in state and local tax in different kinds of degree programs. So we're working through those details, and we thank you very much for your attention as we honor Stan today.